Hi, I'm Louise from The Whole Dog.
And I'm Louise from Wandering with Dogs. When you're asking for advice and you're met with phrases you don't understand, it can be hard to determine whether you should take on board that advice, especially when they're not explained. In this episode, we react to 4 phrases seen a lot in dog training. But what do they mean to you and your dog? And crucially, should you be using them?
We certainly had fun recording it, and we hope you enjoy it. I've asked her to fold it so I can only read one at a time. So today, we are going to spend a little bit of time on this episode discussing some terms or phrases or words. It is currently unknown because it's in this little bit of paper. Kira, the other half of The Whole Dog, has written some things for us to discuss, but we don't know what they are. I know that they're going to make us feel some things. Know that bit I do know, but the rest is unknown. So buckle in.
So we'll see just how triggering or not they are.
Yeah, because there's lots of terms used around working with dogs or that humans say in relation to life with their dogs. And I guess it kind of depends on who you are as a person, how that makes you feel.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting if you are watching or listening along to this, thinking about how it makes you feel, hearing the words and the phrases, what your kind of go-to thoughts are, and then, whether we are on the same page, or just thinking about things from your viewpoint and what are your kind of come-froms.
Because words are emotive, aren't they? Labels are emotive.
Oh, yes.
You start labeling something and then that something becomes that label, or, a phrase might make someone feel something quite strongly.
Yeah.
Whereas for other people, it might just be a turn of phrase and make you feel nothing.
Yeah.
But we see a lot of common things in Facebook groups and with people that we work with, and words that are said or phrases that are said, and we might experience that differently.
Yes. Yeah, and I think on that whole social media front, it's really hard to know what's what. And what, when trainers are talking about things, I mean, I don't know what's written on that piece of paper, whether it is things that trainers say, whether it's phrases that people say. Trainers are people.
Oh, here we go again. Are we
Here we go again. But you know what I mean? It can be really confusing to hear a phrase and then not have that phrase explained.
Yes, like our sort of terminology, things that we would. Yeah, that's very true. Because, before we started our journeys, there was lots of things that we didn't understand what they were, or even understand the concept of what they meant.
And whether we should be paying attention to them or not. Or whether they're just things that we can go, it's not applicable to me, don't need to pay attention.
Very true. And I think if we use descriptive words towards our dogs or ourselves or other people, then it kind of takes on that emotion that the word gives. I think you'd sent me a screenshot of something someone had said in a Facebook group. I can't remember what it was now, so this was maybe a bit silly to bring up.
I've slept since then.
It was
You've
something.
got no hope.
It was something along the lines of, like, I don't know, the dog was being a knob or something. Like
Yes, I remember now. That was the first sentence, and it's without going down another rabbit hole, because this is a discussion for another episode, I think. How you speak about your dog, how you speak about you, it has such impact.
It kind of sets the scene, doesn't it? If that's where you're at and that's the words that you're using.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I've called my dogs everything under the sun.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
But it's kind of it's a one-time thing. It's not something that I believe of the dogs. It's just what I see in the moment where I feel, ugh.
Yeah. Yeah. We always
Um,
go back to we're humans. We describe things and we label things and we use certain words depending on the emotions that we're feeling about a situation. But yeah,
but I
let's.
do. I think there's power in words.
Oh, a huge amount of power in words. Words can make someone's day or break someone's day, or follow you throughout your entire life, potentially. Like kids are described as, they're shy. So then they start to believe that they're shy. Um, even if they maybe didn't realize that they were shy or that sort of thing. But yeah, that's getting a bit complicated, I think, for one episode. So I'm
Right.
absolutely
So shall we read the first one?
ready. Oh, I put my hand in the food bowl so they know I can take it. Wasn't expecting that
It's not where I thought she would go.
either, but it is on the paper.
So
How does that make you feel?
I put my hand in the food bowl so they know that they can take it. So that to me is coming from a place of, I'm the boss. My dog must do what I say.
Yeah.
And that whole kind of a being,
Yes.
it makes me
Yeah.
feel,
My
it's
heart
just,
sank reading that because it's one we hear a lot, and I think it kind of stems back to really old advice that your dog should be able to let you take things. See if that was someone coming to take my dinner, I'd have something to say about it. I'll tell you that right now, especially if I'm hungry. But that shows there's no mutual respect there, that that's that dog's meal. Why do we need to take it? We've given it. Why are we taking it?
That's the key, isn't it? If you've given your dog something, for me, the only reason that you would want to get it back is if it was dangerous.
Yes, not their meals. Like for me, I give my dogs their meals. I want them to enjoy their food. I want them to enjoy their eating experience. I very rarely feed fully out of a bowl. They have other options. Like I want eating to be a pleasant experience, not with a fear that I'm going to come and take it away.
I don't want any conflict there.
No.
To me, that fosters conflict. Does the dog, it puts the dog in a position of, shall I take it? Shall I not take it? Are they going to take it away? Are they not? And it just creates an unnecessary worry for the dog.
Yeah. I mean, that is one thing that our dogs shouldn't have to worry about is meal times. Because I think for all living beings, if we think back to like the 5 freedoms, if you don't know what they are, have a look, like, being able to access things that keep you alive, which is eating, quite big up there.
It's one of the basic needs, isn't it?
Feel icky. I'd love to know what anyone listening or watching, what that made you feel when we read that out.
Is it something that you have done? If not knowing any different, is it something that you've been advised to do? But yeah, how does it make you feel?
I definitely see it advised a lot in Facebook groups, especially for resource guarders or puppies. Like to
put a pin in that. That is the sort of behaviours that begin resource guarding. It doesn't stop it. It's the start of it.
Yeah. But I guess that's coming from a place of you don't have control over this. I do as a human. But it just creates more worry, which usually is what's behind guarding of resources, is a feeling of being unsafe.
Because once something has been taken away from them, they then understand that can happen. So then they start to get worried about it. Whereas if it's not taken away from them in the first place, they don't know any different.
Luna had a bit of resource gardening things as a puppy, and I think that stemmed from her time with her litter mates. It was a reasonably big litter, and I don't think food was freely available. And the
Right.
food that was freely available wasn't the best. So I think there was a bit of hunger issues
Yeah.
within the litter. And I recognised that quite early on, and I was like, here, have all the food. Take it. You can
Yeah,
have
have what you need.
Yeah.
Mm.
Ooh, interesting. Well, I'd love to hear what other people think
Mm.
as well.
Next one.
Ready? Ha, knew this was going to be in here. Nip it in the bud.
Oh,
Nip it in the bud. I need to nip it in the bud. Nip it in the bud before it gets worse. Oh, sorry, this brings up me.
So I think there's a little bit of truth in that.
Yes.
In that, if you see something happening that you don't want to continue, you kind of do want to stop it. However, nip it in the bud. Again, what we were talking about before we looked at these phrases and sayings about the words imparting a certain feeling, and then it makes you think in a certain way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So for me, nip it in the bud. I need to stop it right now.
Yeah.
I need to do whatever I need to do in order, regardless of the consequences of that, to stop that.
Yeah. I think nip it in the bud makes me feel big feelings, because that whatever's going on that needs nipped in the bud hasn't happened overnight. It's just became so much of a problem for whatever reason. There's maybe been a situation that's triggered the message to us in particular. I get this a lot in messages, and it's not a judgment, but it gives me a feeling of this has been going on for a while, but something has led to the reaching out or the message. That's what I get from nip it in the bud. Or I suppose it's kind of similar. It's a very human feeling. The nip it in the bud, there's no consideration for the dog side of that statement.
Yeah, and why the dog's doing the thing that they're doing. So what do you get?
Problem.
Yeah. What do you get nip it in the bud in relation to?
Oh, put me on the
What do
spot.
they want to nip in the bud?
Usually reactivity of some description.
Which you and I both know that ain't a quick fix.
And it isn't also a behaviour that's just appeared generally.
No.
The majority of dogs, don't get me wrong, there's some dogs with pain issues and it's happened quite suddenly, but I'd say for the most part, it's been a gradual escalation, and then it's became a worry, or it's became overwhelming, or it's kind of thinking back to, I can't remember which episode you spoke about, how Casper's reactivity made you feel and how you weren't able to, go places and do the things that you wanted to do with them. So then that became a you problem more than the dog problem. So I think that's where nip it in the bud. What else have we got? Like puppy biting. We get nip it in the bud so that they don't become aggressive. So we've got to nip that in the bud. What else gets nipped in the bud?
So just park that one for a little bit. How many puppies have you had in your classes and your play groups and social sessions that have been aggressive?
0.
Because if they are biting, it's not from an aggressive point of view, is it?
No. There's ones that we see and you can spot them quite quickly that maybe have something that's going to develop into something if support isn't given. So thinking back to like our resource guarding, maybe see a bit of grumbling around food around the other puppies. Or I work with herding breeds a lot, so it can then be labelled as aggression when in actual fact it's just their genetic makeup showing in a certain way that can cause worry. So you do see little signs of where something may potentially escalate as the puppy gets bigger and grows up and, has access to more things in the world. But an actual genuine. I don't like the word aggression. Aggression is just a symptom of an emotion, but there's no puppies that have came that it's been like, oh, that's an aggressive puppy. But I've had puppies that have been described as such.
Because of the understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think like it's kind of going back to the words that we use create a certain feeling. Instead of saying nip it in the bud, you could use a different phrase like, I'd like to support my dog with XYZ, not nip it in the bud. Like it feels very final to me. It's very much like it's got an undertone of if I don't sort this, I've got, there's the dog can't stay here, or it doesn't feel like there's a willingness on the human part to work with it.
Yeah.
Nip it in the bud.
That's very much the feeling that I've got. It's the dog's problem. It needs sorting. And not coming at it from that empathic, supportive point of view.
Yeah, it's very much final. It feels very like if this doesn't stop, I'm out, or the dog's out, or whatever. It just doesn't feel very inclusive of everything that's going on. That's what I get from that one.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And again, no judgment. This is just an exploration. If you've used the term nip it in the bud, it's all right. We're not coming for you.
Just yet.
Let you to think about it. Like, why did you say that if you have said it? Don't think it's anything I don't think I've ever said it personally. I don't think that's because I don't think it's anything I would have ever said before this point. But again, we borrow language from other people, don't we? We borrow
Who we're
language.
surrounded by. How many times have you used the phrase giddy kipper this week?
More than I ever have in my life, because I didn't even know what it was. So definitely more. Kira absolutely loves it and is now going to use it. So again, that's a borrowed language. She enjoys that. That makes her feel happy. For me, it just confuses the life out of me. So I'm not going to say something I don't know what it means. I'm very much like that. I try not and say things that I don't understand. And I don't understand giddy kipper.
That's fair enough. Fair enough.
Whereas Kira's like, that sounds great to me. I'm going to call things giddy kippers. And I'm like, cool, you do that. Probably because she's using it, I'm going to start blooming using it.
Yeah, because you're surrounded. Yeah.
Cool, we ready for another?
Next one.
Dun, dun, dun. I need to be dominant.
Oh.
No, we're going to be here.
Have you seen what?
What?
What was that?
I need to be dominant.
Oh, I thought you just went,
Yeah, because of that.
All right, okay. Fair enough, yeah. Go on then. You go first with your very strong feelings about that one.
It hurts my soul. Like, I think every time someone says that to me, a little bit of it just, like, goes away. And it's all that outdated advice, isn't it, that keeps this going.
It won't go. It will not go away.
It will just not go away. And I think for me, like, I always think back to Pinky and the Brain when I hear dominant. Like,
what?
Pinky and the Brain?
What now?
Cartoon? 90s? Little lab rats?
Yeah, well, in the 90s, I would have been a teenager, so.
All right, sorry, you were out heavy in our whatever you were doing.
Different decade.
Well, anyway, Pinky and the Brain were two little lab rats that spent every night plotting how to take over the world in their laboratory. Pinky was like the ditzy, funny guy, and then there was Brain, who was the brains behind the operation. They never succeeded, I don't think, from my memory. But they were basically trying to plot world domination, these little lab rats. And that's what always comes to my mind. Like, our dogs are not trying to take over the world. They share our world. They're not trying to get one over on us.
No. I was looking through some photos and videos of Ember as a puppy. And a lot of them, she was laid on the sofa, on her back, with her legs up in the air,
Yeah.
just in some weird positions. And the thought of, you know, some people come from the point of view of, well, I can't let my dog on the sofa because then they'll become dominant. They'll, you know, and I'm just, it's so far removed from what's actually happening and the truth. It's unbelievable.
So many thoughts. I'm trying to pick one in my brain. There's a gentleman that has moved into my street.
Okay.
He's not been here that long, and he's got a dog. And he walks this dog many times a day, which is now triggering my dogs, because all he does is shout at that dog. All he does is shout at it. And it's not even any sort of meaningful shouting. Like, I don't even know what he's saying half the time. And this is very judgmental, but I think that's what he's trying to do. Like,
Right. Show
he's
them who's
trying to be
boss.
this dog's boss.
Mhm.
I'm assuming.
Mhm.
The dog just looks confused out his wee mind. I don't
Because the
think
dog
he
hasn't got a clue.
understands what's going
Mm.
on. And he's not being bad to the dog as such. He's not being horrible or mean to him. I don't actually know if it's a boy or a girl, but I get the feeling that their relationship isn't what it could be, because I don't know, he's got to put on this dominant persona. I don't know this guy at all. This is just purely an outside observation. But I walked behind him the other day with Luna, and the dog was barking at stuff, and Luna can react to things in the environment, and there was another dog passing, the guy's dog was like, "Rah, rah, 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 rah," and he's shouting at it and leash popping and all the rest of it, and I'm like, "Good girl, that's all right, none of your business." Yes, toddling along, and I'm like, same situation, completely different approach.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
can imagine dominance, be the boss, is what's running through his mind for whatever reason. Just makes me really sad to watch.
Yeah, and I think that whole ethos of having to be dominant, having to be the alpha, you know, it's all from the same school of thought, isn't it?
Yeah, really.
It takes away from the relationship that you could have with your dog.
Yeah, I think that's the bit that I get so sad about. And the
Mm.
other thing I realise a lot of the time, people don't actually want to be dominant.
No.
You don't.
How many people have you had? Clients have you had
Mhm.
that have been to other trainers that have been told that they have to do this for the dog? The dog has to know who's boss, who's
Oh, so many.
top dog. And they've struggled with that because it goes against who they are as a person.
Yep.
They can see the impact that that's having on their dog, and it's
Yep.
not positive. They're going backwards in their
Mm.
training. Everything's becoming 10 times worse.
Yep.
And the human, the owner, is just frustrated beyond belief.
And that's where things get confusing, because you've got that internal conflict of, this doesn't sit right with me. My dog doesn't seem happy, but I'm being told I have to be this person that I am not.
Mm.
And that must be a really horrible place to be. And I know you've experienced that in your journey with Casper.
Was I talking to you about this the other day?
Oh God, I don't know.
So one of the first, it was the first training class that we went to, and it caused me massive confusion because they were using treats, but they were also doing other stuff. And the trainer took Casper off me, and the picture I've got, bearing in mind my memory is not fantastic, so for this picture
be
to
a
still
strong
be up
memory.
here, it's a really strong memory, because of the emotion that's attached to it. So I've got this image of him taking Casper off me. We were in this little courtyard bit, and to get Casper to walk nicely on lead. He let him get to the end of the lead because he was pulling, and I swear he yanked that lead back, and of course Casper just went back. My stomach, I swear to God, my stomach did that. I didn't know what I was seeing at that point. I didn't
No.
understand. But all of my being said, oh, that's not right.
Mhm.
Oh, I don't like that. And I think we went back to one session because I was in that kind of, but they use treats. I didn't know.
They must be doing nice
They
things.
must be doing something good. And I knew nothing about training. I knew that was my understanding. That was my
Mhm.
understanding of what dog training was.
Yeah.
You know, so we went back for one more session, I think, and then I was like, it's still, there's something not right here. But yeah, that's, you
And I
know,
think
and that's where that school of thought comes from, isn't it? I will dictate to you how you walk on the lead. And when you do something wrong, I will show you who's boss.
it's never sat right with me. I've not had an experience like you did with Casper when I went to dog training classes with doing sort of ring crafts and stuff. Like I was just a kid, but I remember being given bits of aversive equipment, what I would class as aversive equipment now. And I just assumed that was what you did.
Mm.
I didn't question it. I grew up in the world of horses. The world of horses is even more backwards than the world of dog training. At the moment, like they're nowhere near as far forward as we are.
Well,
It's prevalent and it hurts. Like, you know, seeing another being being made uncomfortable so that we don't get one over on us or, you know, get taken the mickey out of or whatever phrase it wants to be given to the animal that we're working with. But it's, you know, it's always you can only do better when you know better. But I've had a lot of people recently, more so than I have over the last 6 years, come
do you
into
think it's
with a story that's made
do
them.
you think it's having like a resurgence, the whole dominance theory and
I mean, I'm only
that?
looking at local area, so
Mm.
I don't know, but there's also all the many sponsored ads on Facebook, and you can tell straight away
Mm.
what's coming next by the first
Yeah.
sort of introduction
Mm.
in those little videos. But it's that human conflict when you've got someone telling you to do a certain thing
Mm.
and your entire being is like, I don't want to do that to my dog. I've had students that have came to me from other trainers, and this, you know, we've got a lot of amazing trainers locally. Leaving training sessions crying. Their
I
dog
can't.
terrified, like, oh. And that's all because you've got to be dominant, you've got to be more more whatever kind of
Assertive.
assertive, yeah, that's the word. Got to shout louder, got to have a deeper voice. Like,
Mm.
I can say hand on heart, I very rarely shout at my dogs. I'm a human being. Sometimes I do my nutting, and you know, when there's other things going on that, you know, a shout comes out and they absolutely crap themselves.
Mm. Yeah.
I would not want to do that deliberately, to
No.
set out to be like that towards them. As I say,
Mm.
it's very rare, hand on heart, it's unusual. But I feel instant guilt after that moment that I've tipped into human,
Yeah.
lost it a bit.
On the whole, you know, you've got to use a firm voice.
Mm-hmm.
If you just, you know, for those of you who are listening to this, just stop for a minute and imagine yourself stood shouting, you know, using that firm voice. How does it make you feel? What like frame of mind does it put you in? Because I know if I was to do that, it's not me. I would feel quite aggressive,
Mm-hmm.
standoffish. And that's not who I want my dogs to see.
I wouldn't come to you as a place of safety if that's how you were behaving towards me.
Mm.
I would either avoid you or I would give you it back. Depending on the situation, I would retaliate in the same way.
Either either of those doesn't get your dog doing what you want them to do, does it?
I've
Ultimately.
met many people and I've met many dogs. And I can tell straight away what kind of home life and relationship that they have in terms of firm handling or big voices. You can see it straight off the bat because the dogs will duck away from any physical contact. They won't lean in for that physical contact. You know, if there's any sort of louder voices required, say we're outside and doing recall or whatever, they will actively avoid the person. You can see it.
Oh, just on that front. So if you have to use, no, we've gone off tangent,
Oh,
but if you have to use a firm voice to get your dogs to respond, why do whistles work? Because that's the same tone every single time. Just a thought that's popped into my head.
Yeah. Yeah. Although I think people can be aggressive with whistles too, because they just start tooting it and they violently toot it.
Yes, but the tone that's
Well,
coming
the
out
dogs
the other.
listen at this point, because if they've escalated to this point, that means absolutely naff all to that dog. But
Yeah, yeah,
no,
yeah.
you're
But
right.
the tone that's coming out is the same, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, just food for thought on that one.
And I think just to kind of wrap that one up, it's looking at what sits right for you.
Yes.
And don't be afraid to stand up for yourself and say, this is my dog, this is my relationship with my dog. Stop it.
Yeah.
And if you're leaving a training session crying,
do not go back to that trainer. Do not go back. You owe your dog that, and you owe yourself that.
Definitely. Definitely.
Right, last is the final one.
Oh, this fits on really nicely. Thanks, Kira. We're maybe not done. Being the alpha, show them who's boss. Knew where we'd go with this, I guess.
I suppose we've kind of covered a bit of that.
Covered that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I suppose alpha hasn't really been covered as such. Like if we think about the reason that came about was a study of captive wolves.
And that's the key bit, isn't it?
Study
Captive wolves.
Captive wolves.
Yes.
They were all flung together, not in a family unit, all strangers, and then expected to just live in harmony.
Yeah.
Which is very similar to, we bring a dog home into our family. Their family unit has changed. But it's not about vying for resources or fighting for resources or, having to be top dog.
No.
If you don't know much about how wolves live, they're a family unit. The debunking of this man theory, whose name I cannot remember right now, I've been trying to think about it since I started saying about alpha. It's completely escaped my brain. But he did debunk his own theory. But for some unknown reason, that has not gotten out into the world the same way this bit has. That's the bit that confuses me. Are you Googling?
I'm Googling the man. Because I can't.
Googling the man.
I can't.
It's 2 minutes in, so please do. And it was a long time ago as well. Like,
oh yeah, it was, wasn't it?
moved on.
But that's really relevant, isn't it? That why has it stuck around even when he's gone? Hands up! I got it wrong. Got it completely wrong. Dr. David Mech.
Yeah,
I don't know if I pronounced that right.
Yeah, is it Mech?
M-E-C-H. Is that him?
Think so.
Can't
remember.
Yeah, I
He's that
don't.
memorable, I can't remember who he is.
Yeah.
But it's been around for a long time. I remember buying a dog book in a charity shop. Can't remember what age I was. Maybe like young teenager. And it was all about being the alpha.
The Alpha. Sorry, I got it wrong. Rudolf Schenkel.
Yes, that's it. I was like, I didn't think that guy sounded right.
Yeah, from 1947.
Yeah.
And then it was popularized by David Mech. Mech.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you say 1947?
1947. And then it was popularized in 1970.
We are
That's
2024.
that's even though in my head 1970 wasn't that long ago because I was born in the 70s. It is, isn't it?
A long time.
Yeah, in terms of our learning and how dog training has moved on in some cases, yet not others. Why is this still being bandied around?
I think it feels familiar. Because
Right.
it has been floating about maybe for so long that it feels like something that you can do quite easily for a lot of people. Like, I can become my dog's boss. I do want them to obey what I say. Maybe there's a bit of safety in that information. Whereas learning something new is hard. You know, questioning your own beliefs or ethics. Jesus, ethics. Wow.
Put your teeth in, woman.
I must have someone else's teeth into the questioning what you know to have been true to you for a long time, and then trying to look at it a different way when something challenges that belief or that ethic. That's uncomfortable.
Yes, I would agree with that.
I'm finding it a lot at the moment. If you don't know, I've got a little horse that's coming up 3, and pretty much every day my brain wants to go back to the way that I did things. If there's a problem, my brain goes back to the familiar. Whereas I'm having to stop myself and catch myself and think about the way that I approach other things in my animals' lives, like the dogs in particular, but horses are not dogs, obviously. Horses are flight animals, dogs are predators. Things are very different in that world. But I'm having to stop myself and think. There was she was having a little moment of reading up on her back legs. So I googled it, which was really stupid because I googled the question of how do I stop a horse rearing? Knowing full well the process in my brain, why did she rear? What emotion was she feeling? How can we set that up differently in the future? How can I support her through this? How can I break those steps down and make it easier so that when I put the hose on her legs that she doesn't freak out? And the answers I got were horrible. I don't know why I did it to myself. I don't know, but I did. I did, because I was like, I went searching for an answer. But the answers that I found are how I would have previously probably not even questioned it. I didn't like it, but I would have did it because that's how I was taught.
And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. Particularly when you're asking questions in Facebook groups.
Yes.
When you've got a problem and you want to solve it and you get all manner of suggestions, how do you know which one is the right one? You know, you knew the suggestions that you got for Dream, your horse, you wouldn't have implemented because of your knowledge. But when you haven't got that knowledge, how does that leave you feeling?
And these are reputable sources in terms of like the horse world. It wasn't like little 5 pages down Google forums. Like, these are quite prominent sources of information.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, not doing that. But I had to catch myself. So I think when you've maybe up around dogs and it's been, you have used terminology like alpha or, I'm my dog's boss or any of that sort of thing. Like, as I say, I started my dog training journey in a dog club that just whacked a choke chain on my Labrador to stop her from pulling. It didn't stop her from pulling, but that's another conversation.
Yeah.
But we didn't flinch at that. It just was the
Going
way
back
it
to those
was.
classes with Casper, I was told to get a martingale collar.
Mm-hmm.
So didn't know what that was. So of course got home, Google. Martingale collar, for those who don't know, are like mainly a fabric collar, but there's a section of it with a chain that's kind of linked around. So when the dog does pull, those two ends meet. So it essentially it tightens, doesn't it?
Yeah, it pinches.
Yeah. I went and bought it. I don't think I used it. I would like to hope I didn't use it. But I did it because, well, that was what I was told to do.
Yeah.
I didn't really question it, I think. So I think from all of those, from everything with dog training, if you are in a place of not quite sure what to do, I've been told different pieces of advice, I've heard different phrases, and not quite sure, just have a think and just think how those things sit with you as a person. Does it go against your ethics and morals and beliefs? And just because it worked for somebody else doesn't mean to say you have to use it.
Like, I put that choke collar on Meg. It didn't make a blind bit of difference.
No, because it's not. The reason for her pulling hasn't been changed, has it? It hasn't been questioned or thought about.
Yep.
So she could perform something different.
Exactly.
It's just stopping a behaviour without looking at what's causing it in the first place.
No, definitely. You don't need to do anything you don't want to do.
No.
With your dog.
And certainly not if it's making you feel physically sick.
Yeah.
Or emotional to the point where you're crying.
Mm-hmm.
Your body's having a gut reaction to something. It's not outside. It's not. Oh God.
The brain's going again.
No, it's yeah. Well, yes, it is. We are how many minutes in now?
No, actually, it must be due for it to melt anyway.
Yeah, thanks. This bit's getting cut out, by the way.
No, it's not. It's staying in.
Yeah, your body is reacting because it's trying to tell you something.
Yeah.
And it's up to you to listen to that.
So I think the takeaways from this is thinking about the words that you use to describe your dog, to describe the situation, to look at things a bit deeper than face value. Think about the meaning behind those things that you're saying. If you come across terms like alpha, boss, dominant, think about what that makes you feel like. I don't think I could say the word dominant and feel happy. Like there's no, and I don't think that's like I'm trying to take myself out of my current situation, but like relationship, friendship, partnership, team, dominant.
We're all beings on this planet, aren't we?
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody gets to be the boss of somebody else.
Obviously, in life, there's hierarchies in terms of like
that's different, isn't it? There's hierarchies because
for humans.
Yes, and that has to be in place in certain situations. But to want to assert your authority or your dominance over somebody else or some other being, it's just wrong. In my book, it's just wrong.
Right there with you. right there with you. But I've enjoyed just discussing what's came up. Thanks, Kira.
Mm. Yeah.
If you like to listen to the answers to your own question or your own statements. But we'd
And
love
see
to
if you
know how-
believe the
Yeah.
same.
We'd love to know what's came up for you guys with those statements. You can use the comments if you're on YouTube, and I'm pretty sure there's comments on Podbean as well.
Yeah.
Um,
And if you have any phrases yourself that you've heard and kind of want to discuss, or you're not quite sure about, and just would like a little bit more input around those,
Yeah.
pop them in the comments. We'd love to hear them.
definitely. Because there's so much out there, and it's not from a place of judgment. So if you've ever tried to be dominant or be your dog's boss, or the fact that you're here with us too suggests that you want to look at things deeper. So it's never from a place of judgment.
No. What was your phrase last week? You can only do better when you know better.
Yeah, always come
And
back.
that's the fundamental reason why we're doing this.
Yeah. The main reason is to get you guys thinking. Thinking, questioning, looking at things from different angles, perspectives. That's what we want from this. And from the feedback so far, it is helping. So that's all we need to hear. That is positive reinforcement for our behaviour. So we will continue.
We will.
Because behaviour that is rewarded will be repeated. So
Yeah, it will.
Perfect. So we'll see what brings on the next episode. We've got some thoughts. So we'll narrow those down and see what comes next.
Cool.
Perfect. I shall see you later, friend.
See you later.
Bye. Done.
Nice.
That wasn't bad, mate.
That was